Hello, people from around the universe. I am your host, the Italian Ace, and today we are back with more Pokemon Scarlet and Violet content. And as you can tell from the title, we are going to be discussing my top 5 favorite shinies from the new games. And that is why I am wearing a Slytherin Christmas sweatshirt, because finding a fellow Slytherin is about as rare as finding a shiny Pokemon. Okay, in all seriousness, it's not that rare, but I am very curious to hear about you guys and what house you fall into, because before taking the Pottermore test, I always thought I was a Gryffindor, because I read Harry Potter as a kid, and so, as a kid I don't think anyone's going to be like, yes, Slytherin, that's my house. But then after the Pottermore one, I'm like, I got sorted into this, I guess, and I'm kind of happy about it. Don't know why, I think it's just kind of a cool little fun fact. Regardless, we are here to talk about shinies, and there have been a lot of pretty good shinies released with Scarlet and Violet, and some really bad shinies as well. So let's go through my favorite ones. But of course, before we do that, cue my intro. Okay, so coming in at number 5, we have Iron Valiant, which really quickly, this will bring me to 2 tangents I want to talk about, just super fast. One being, I kind of hate the names for the Paradox forms, like, why don't we give them an actual Pokemon name instead of Iron Valiant, Roaring Moon, and like all of that. I don't know. I don't really like it. But the second tangent is that all of the future Paradox forms are basically the same shiny, which is supposed to, look like iron. So it makes sense, but it's also kind of lazy, and I realize it's weird that I picked one of them as my favorite, well, one of my favorites, but it just looks really good on Iron Valiant. There's something about it that, I guess it reminds me of like Mega Gallade and Mega Gardevoir fused together with a metallic touch. They're shinies, obviously. And so, to me, it looks really good. I just wish that they didn't have the same concept for all the other ones. But whatever, I mean, this one looks fantastic. I love the way the pink-purple blades and like highlights pop against this gray metallic color, and so this is a really good one. Just maybe next time don't give every single Pokemon the same shiny idea, I guess. Next up, we have what is probably a very biased pick, but I don't care, it's my list, I get to make it however I want to, and that is Quaquaval. Now, this is one of my top 2 favorite Pokemon from this generation, and if you want to know why, you can look at my previous video. However, this shiny also looks really, really good. Just, I think so, okay? Even if I take my bias away for this Pokemon, it looks amazing. And, I mean, it's not like the rest of these shinies are going to be my top 5 favorite Pokemon from this game, so I'm not just basing it off of which Pokemon I like the most. Although, if there's a shiny where there's a tie for how much I like the shiny, I will default to which Pokemon I prefer in terms of where I'm going to place it in this list, which will come into play later, but not quite yet. Regardless of all that, I really do think Quaquaval has a pretty dang good shiny, and this, like, purple, brighter color scheme, to me, gives it even more of that Samba vibe, because, Samba also has to do with, like, Carnival in Brazil, and so, like, there's a lot of colors associated with it, at least in my mind, even though you can obviously dance Samba in just the bottom setting like I have, and in that case it depends on what you're doing, but I don't know, I just think this purple really does give it that like colorful dance vibe that Samba very much has, and so I really like it. And up next, coming in at number 3, we have the one and only Bellibolt, who I actually still think is a pretty fun design. Not my favorite from this generation, but maybe in the top 20 because it looks pretty cool. And this shiny is just spectacular, okay? Like, it really is. Gold shinies in general, I think, are very hit and miss. Some of them look really good, some of them look really bad, and then you just kind of have to go for the best when they make a new one. But I think this one is perfect because the red highlights, or I guess red-orange, together with this yellow that almost feels like it's taking what was like the center part of its belly in the normal form and just expanding it to be the whole Pokemon. It just works, you know? I think it works both from a thematic standpoint, because it obviously has a very electric type vibe with this color scheme, but it also just works as a good combination of colors, you know? I mean, there's something about this yellow with like the red-orange highlights that I've always loved, and so having that on an electric type like Bellibolt, which also had this yellow in its non-shiny form, but not throughout its body, I mean, I think that's just a great idea. And yeah, it easily earns its number 3 spot on this list because it is just really good. Like, this is going to be one of the first shinies I go after probably, and I mean, it's going to be well worth it. And now for the number 2 spot, and this is where the only tiebreaker between number 2 and number 1 was which Pokemon I preferred. And so this is almost a pseudo number 1, if you will. But it's not, because it's number 2 and first place is very special to me. And I am, of course, talking about Titan. I don't know why I said of course, because you wouldn't have known until right now, but here we are. This shiny looks great. Like, do I even have to explain it? I mean, yes, black shinies are super popular, and to be completely honest, I've never been as big on them as a lot of other people have. That's just me, okay? You can love them, that's totally fine. Good on you. But I think there are better combinations a lot of times for a specific Pokemon. In fact, I prefer the original shiny Charizard to the current one, just because I think it looks more unique. Even with all that, though, the top 2 shinies in this generation are black shinies, which is just kind of funny. I will say, I mean, Titan just changing from the icy white to this black is genius. It looks fantastic. The Pokemon is very well designed anyway. One of my favorites from this generation. Loved using it in my playthrough team. I mean, it just makes too much sense, you know? Like, this is a great shiny, and I really don't think there's anything else that needs to be said. And now, for the number 1 shiny Pokemon in all of Scarlet and Violet, and also just one of my all-time favorite shinies, if I'm being honest. We have the one and only Palafin. Although, there's something missing. And it's not with the Pokemon, but with my outfit. Much better. So of course, I need to give just a bit of background on this, but I will be very brief because if you want to learn more about that, you can actually check out my last video on my new favorite Pokemon from this generation where I go more in depth about this. However, just to give you the general idea, I just did a jive routine to the Hercules song Zero to Hero, and this was my outfit. And so of course, when we're talking about Palafin, who also goes from Zero to Hero, well, there's only one possible dress code for your boy. I don't know. I hope you like this idea. This is a ballroom meets Hercules kind of ensemble, which is why it's not just a complete Hercules cosplay kind of a thing, but it's also not a Hercules themed concept, I guess. I really like dressing up as this. It was super fun to do my routine, and so it just felt good to bring this back for a video. Anyway, this Pokemon has an incredible shiny. Just, I mean, honestly. First of all, there's actually two different shiny forms for this because there's the Zero form, which has actually a similar purple to the Quackable one, which again is very good. And then there's the Hero form with what has to be my favorite black shiny ever. I mean, I think just in terms of design, Satitan is again right up there. Like, right up there with its color scheme, right? But this Pokemon is just perfect, and so having the same level of color scheme as the other best black colored shiny will then propel it to number one because again, it's just perfect. Like this is a perfect Pokemon. I don't really know what else you want me to say, and I'm not gonna go too much more into how much I like this because it was in the last video. So instead, I will talk about the shiny just a little bit more because I love it. I really do. I can't wait to get this as my second shiny in Scarlet and Violet because I caught a random shiny Floette in my playthrough. Actually, funnily enough, it was the same exact color flower as my shiny Florges that I caught in Gen 6 when it was also a Floette, I think. So that's just a nice little throwback, I guess you could say. But yeah, this is just such a good shiny. Like, I don't know. I mean, I think it looks incredible. And the fact that there's two forms, both of which have a different shiny. Stupendous. Just absolutely stupendous. And I cannot wait to use this on my team because, yeah, Palafin, like, you and Quackable are just perfect Pokemon for me. And the fact that you also have a perfect shiny, I mean, what more can you want? And I'm back with my normal Christmas outfit for the season. And if for some reason you're confused as to what I mean by that, then clearly you did not watch my number one pick. And so go back and watch it because I think it was a pretty fun time. Regardless, I thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, do leave it a like and let me know what your favorite shinies from this generation are. And of course, if you want to see more Pokemon content, especially for Scarlet and Violet, because there's a lot of pretty fun video ideas I have for these games, I do recommend subscribing. And I hope to see you all in the next video. But until then, remember to follow the way of the ace. See ya!